Good morning, Church School. My name is Karen. I'm a member of Princeton United Methodist Church, and I am a teacher. I teach English, and many times I teach English to adults who just moved to this country, and they don't know how to speak English. Many of my students are from Mexico, and so they have shared with me over the years a lot about their traditions from Mexico. I am happy to be wearing a huipil, the traditional dress, very embroidered with bright colors of that women in Mexico wear. For them, it's just a house dress. For me, it's something very special. I also have on earrings that are Mexican coins that were given to me by a very special friend. The book we're going to read together, The Spirit of Tio Fernando, in Spanish, El Espíritu de Tio Fernando, is a story about a little boy who has lost someone very special to him. And we learn in the book much about the traditions in Mexico around the Day of the Dead. It's actually not just one day in Mexico, it's several days. But in Mexico, people are sad when someone special dies, but they also love to remember that person. And they celebrate that person every year after they've died. So maybe you know someone who's lost a grandfather or a grandmother or someone else special. So maybe you can understand a little bit about Nando, the boy in this story. And this is a picture of the house where Nando lives in a rural or very small country town, in Pueblito, in Mexico. And this is the first picture in the story. "Wake up," my mother calls. "It's the Day of the Dead. We're going to honor your Tio Fernando." As I get dressed, I watch the sun come up. I miss my favorite Uncle Fernando, who died 6 months ago. I'm named Fernando after him, but everyone calls me Nando. Tio Fernando had long, skinny legs, and the second toe of his right foot was longer than his big toe, just like mine. His mustache would tickle my chin when he lifted me up in the air. He always brought me coconut candy that got stuck in my teeth. So there's that beautiful image of Fernando waking up and looking out the window at his town. Now the next page has a very long picture. And you can see the mother is wearing a huipil. Yesterday, my mother scrubbed Tio Fernando's tombstone. I painted it pink and blue and pulled up loose weeds. I helped my mother set up the altar in the living room. First, we washed the walls and swept the floor. Then we opened a tablecloth with yellow and green embroidered birds. My mother laughed. "Do you remember how Tio's parrot refused to talk?" So here they are putting the tablecloth with embroidered parrots on the table. And this is another part of the room. Here is the new page. This morning, my mother places sweet-smelling candles on the table around pictures of Tio Fernando. In one of the photographs, I'm sitting on his shoulders. We are both wearing baseball caps. I remember when Tio Fernando let me pick his lucky numbers. He said if he won the loteria, he would be the richest man in Mexico, and we'd drive all the way to California to see the Dodgers play baseball. My mother puts my uncle's favorite foods, chocolate, cola, and mole, on the altar. I lay his wooden flute there too. When he visited, Tio Fernando would play it for me. So there's the table, set up like an altar to remember Tio Fernando. This is the next page. We can see their kitchen. When the altar is done, my mother makes lunch. The Day of the Dead is a time to remember people who have died, whom we will always love, my mother says. Tonight at the fiesta, we will bring Tio Fernando's special things to the cemetery. We will meet with his spirit and show him he has not been forgotten. How will I meet Tio's spirit? Will I see him? Will he make noise? How will I know it is really him? I ask. So many questions. My mother kisses me. Some things we just know when it is time to know. She tucks some pesos in my pocket. Go to the market, Nandito. Buy some things that remind you of your uncle. There's the page we just read in their kitchen. And this is their new page. This is the market, an outdoor market in Mexico. What can I take to the cemetery for Tio? I wander through the market. Bread of the dead, Senor Romero shouts in the marketplace. He holds up loaves of bread that look like twisted bones. He squeezes icing from a tube and draws a skull and crossbones on a round cake. So here, this is the table where the market is selling bread of the dead. And you can see they come in different shapes. It's a little bit of a sweet bread. And they use it to remember the people who died. Here's another tradition, someone selling in the marketplace. Here, Nando, Senor Romero hands me a blue and pink sugar skull with tinfoil eyes. He writes my name on its forehead. Thank you, Senor Romero. I stare at my name on the skull. How will I meet Tio Fernando's spirit? I don't know, Nando, but when you do, your heart will be full. I think of the candy my uncle would throw into the air and catch in his mouth. I buy a skeleton of marzipan candy and a cake baked narrow and skinny, like Tio Fernando. So there's the little sugar skull. And I think maybe these could be the tall and skinny cakes shaped like Tio Fernando. Here we have a picture that shows marigolds. For Mexican people, the marigolds grow wild, and they are something they bring to the tombs on the Day of the Dead. So you will see many images of the marigolds. And I have here next to me some marigolds that we grow in this country. They're from my garden. Every year I like to grow marigolds, and it reminds me of my students. Devil's costumes, Senora Magdalia sings. She shows me the silver bells and mirrors she has sewn onto black pants. I am making devil's costumes for the masqueraders, she says. Here, Nando. Senora Magdalia gives me a white handkerchief stuffed with sticks. She ties a rubber band around the middle and draws 2 black eyes. This is for you. So here we see Senora Magdalia giving the little white handkerchief stuffed with sticks to Fernando. And here, these are the costumes that she was sewing silver bells and mirrors onto. This is the next picture. Thank you, Senora Magdalia. I shake the ghost in my hand. How will I meet Tio Fernando's spirit? I don't know, Nando, but when you do, you will feel good inside. I think of the spooky stories my uncle told me. I remember how he made his voice deep, or high, or squeaky. I buy an orange and black paper goblin on a stick and a papier-mâché skeleton riding a small horse. So here we see the papier-mâché skeleton on a horse. The next page, next 2 pages, show the market. And here's Fernando, and way over here is his mother. I walk from one end of the market to the other and stop at every stall. There is so much to see. There is so much to think about. I meet my mother. She looks at the things I have bought and smiles. Now this is a silly play that happens on the Day of the Dead. Hold my hand, Nandito, she says. It's getting dark. The street is crowded with musicians. People in costumes and masks twirl in circles. I dance to a mummer's serenade and laugh at the actors on stage, singing songs about life and death. We could see this person looks dressed up like a devil, and this woman looks like a skeleton. So does this man. So this reminds me of Halloween in our country, the way we dress up like skeletons or ghosts or devils. Now, in the little town where Fernando lives, they have their own cemetery. And here it is, a picture of that. "Come," says my mother, "let's go to Tio's grave now. The cemetery is nearby. Outside it, my mother and I buy marigolds, the special flowers of the dead. We place the flowers on Tio's grave, and they look like an orange blanket. We tie them on the cross, too." So you can see many petals from the flowers are put on the grave that the day before Nando painted pink and blue. This is Nando. Maybe he's tying the flowers on the cross. And this is, now it's evening. So in the evening it's cool. You can see that they're dressed a little more warmly than in the day. My mother plays the guitar and sings my uncle's favorite songs. She lights a candle and asks the soul of Tio Fernando to join us in the fiesta, to remember the world he left behind. "Is Tio Fernando's spirit here?" I whisper. My mother closes her eyes and puts her arm around me. I hear her heart beating, or maybe it is my own. So it is dark, the flowers are on the tomb, here is the candle, and his mom has a guitar that she plays, singing Tio Fernando's favorite songs. Now they just sit quietly, remembering Tio Fernando, feeling very peaceful. I feel a tickling across my cheek. A bird whistles as high as a flute. A warm wind blows from my head to my feet. I look down and see how the second toe of my right foot sticks out of my sandal. So there he is looking at his toe. The spirit of Tio Fernando. I look at my mother. She opens her eyes and smiles. Then I am sure that Tio Fernando is happy with his fiesta. He knows that we love him and that he has not been forgotten. So here they are now, knowing that Tio Fernando, the spirit of Tio Fernando, is with them. And these are the other people, the other tombs at the cemetery. The end.